So, hey, welcome back to Accelerated Investor. So excited to have you on. You're going to notice in just our recent podcasts that we've modified the name of Accelerated Investor just slightly to Accelerated Real Estate Investor. I'm so excited to have guests on and do solo casts with you to tell you a little bit more about our investment business and amazing guests that can help you along your journey of investing in real estate, creating financial freedom, and becoming a bigger, better version of yourself. Today, listen, I have an amazing guest on. It's a relatively new friend who I thoroughly enjoyed this interview with. His name is Jerome Myers. Jerome is a developer of people and places. He's the founder and chief inspirational officer of Dream Catchers and the Myers Development Group. Through those entities, Jerome gets to live out his childhood dreams of helping people manifest the things that they imagine in their brain and create social proof that these dreams should be real. Left corporate America after building a $20 million division to focus on his multifamily, multi-million dollar portfolio using what he calls the Myers methods. In this interview, we're going to peel back the onion with Jerome on his Myers methods. And we're going to talk about things like, number one, operating your investments and your real estate investing from a place of abundance versus scarcity. Number two, how to be a great partner in business by focus on being predictable, and that predictability creating trust with not only your family or friends, but with your business partners and future business partners. You're also going to hear about Jerome's most recent 128 unit development in Greensboro, North Carolina. And you're also going to hear more about why people want to know what you bring to the table, but ultimately why Jerome talks about the know, like, and trust triangle, know, like, and trust, and why he feels it's more like a funnel. Know, then like, and then trust. And trust people when they come from a place of predictability. And then finally, you're going to hear also about what I call the I am exercise and how you're able to redefine who you are through the I am exercise. Thank you again for joining us today on Accelerated Real Estate Investor. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Jerome Myers.
Welcome to the Accelerated Real Estate Investor Podcast with Josh Cantwell. If you're looking to retire early with forever passive income, you're in the right place. This podcast is the go-to destination for real estate investors, both active and passive, and multifamily apartment investors, new, intermediate, and advanced. Now, sit back, listen, learn, and accelerate your business, your life, and your investing with the Accelerated Real Estate Investor Podcast.
So, hey, Jerome, listen, been looking forward to this interview for a long time to talk about some new topics with you about partnering, how to select the right partners, how to be a good partner in this multifamily space. So thanks so much for joining me today on Accelerated Investor.
Josh, you don't know how excited I am to be with you, man. This is stoked. And I hear you just closed a new deal, man. So super excited about that. Congratulations. And I wish you guys much success because that's a monster you tucked down, man.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Jerome. So listen, like, I love to talk with new guests, new friends about, like, what are they doing, like, right now? Like, what are you going to do this afternoon? What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you working on, like, next week that you're excited about that really gets your entrepreneurial juices going, your real estate juices going, your self-development juices going? Like, what are you excited for in your business right now that you're working on?
Yeah, so I got an email 2 days ago from my guy at Berkadia. We're working on a development project, and we've been kind of moving at a snail's pace through HUD. And he's like, okay, we should have a decision by noon on Friday. And so, we're recording this on a Thursday. So hopefully by lunchtime tomorrow, we'll have the thumbs up to go ahead and move to that next phase in the process so that we can get this loan closed and get ground broken before the end of 2021. That's the big project for this year, 120 units out of the ground on 6 acres.
Nice. Fantastic. What market is that in? And what does it look like? Help me understand the deal a little bit, the mechanics. When do you think you'll be at stabilization? Maybe some valuation numbers, if you don't mind telling our audience. Tell us about the deal.
Yeah. So the valuation numbers, since you asked that question last, are the ones that are tricky, right? Because construction's changed quite a bit.
Sure.
Stuff's more expensive. And so I don't know exactly where we're going to land on the build cost right now. But the way that we packaged it when we sent it to HUD, it's a $17 million deal, about $15 million worth of debt. We'll bring 3 or so to the table between us and partners. And, we look to break ground end of this year. It'll be about an 18 to 24 month construction cycle. And so, we plan to be fully occupied sometime in 2023, hopefully first or second quarter of 2023. And then this is a fully amortized 40-year loan. So we'll be able to ride this thing till the end of my career in an opportunity zone. The market is Greensboro, North Carolina. So that's what we buy. And, we're looking to be the market leader here. We want to own the vast majority of the workforce housing in this city.
Nice. That's great. So super niche focused. I love the Carolinas. We've got a lot of investors and partners down there. I'm actually heading down to North Carolina to play some golf in June. Got that trip scheduled. Looking forward to that with some of my investors who are close friends of mine now, buddies of mine. So looking forward to that. Now, Jerome, listen, I know you're developed multifamily, but I know your focus when you're developing really is on selecting the right partners and being a good partner, and why so many people like to get into real estate investing, whether it's single family, commercial, multifamily development. And a lot of them have trouble closing deals or getting bank financing or finding the right limited partners, joint venture partners, or syndication partners. And I know that you have a lot of really strong opinions and philosophies around finding good partners and being a good partner. This isn't something a lot of people talk about. People think like, oh, well, people just have money. I just want them as a partner. I've fired people before or told people, you can't invest in my deal, or I don't want to partner with you. We have a very strict policy in my company called, forgive my audience, the no dipshit policy. So we don't invest with dipshits. We don't partner with dipshits. So you have a philosophy that's, very strict with that. I'd love to hear your take on how you build your business with partners and where people get this wrong.
Yeah. I mean, ours is no jerks are allowed, right? But to the point, I think, Josh, I've been running this story for a little while, and hopefully you'll humor me here. So look, I'm going to, I need you to send me $100,000, right? Or you can leave your kids with me. Which one are you going to do first?
Great question.
Don't answer it. I don't want you to answer it. Yeah. But the pause says enough, right? And so there are people all across the country.
Some days you can have my kids, brother. Some days you can have them.
There are people all across the country who are trying to get folks to write 25 to 150. I've heard one person say they got $1 million check from one person. But when they think about it, and I bring that point up that I just put you in, right? It's an uncomfortable situation to put a parent in. But the reality is people pause, hesitate, and think about giving their most prized, and kids aren't possessions, but their most prized possession to somebody else before they would give their money away, right? And so that's what you're competing against. And so what you have to have is a deep level of trust. Right. And that deep level of trust really comes from your self-image. Josh, if you're able, and I mean, I could tell all right away, like you keep promises to yourself. Right. And that's what all our self-image and our self-esteem is. It's our ability to say, hey, I'm going to do that because I keep promises to myself. The more people that you interact with that are living in that space, the more they expect of you. And this accountability rises and rises and rises. In 2020, I read a book that changed my life. It was called Sizing People Up by Robin Dreeke. And it talks about all the different ways that people signal whether or not you should trust them. The thing that I didn't understand until I read that book was just because you like somebody doesn't mean you should trust them. Mm-hmm. You'll hear people on podcasts all the time talk about the no, like, trust triangle. I think it's more of a funnel. No, like, and then trust, right? The widest part of the funnel is no, the smallest part is trust. Well, some people condense like and trust, but all trust means is that I can predict what you're going to do. And so, Josh, if I'm in a deal with you, it goes south. Are you going to do a capital call, or are you going to write a check and take care of the issue? And you don't have to answer that, but that's something that people are looking for. If there's an issue at the property, are you going to try to hide it from me, or are you going to share it along with the plan on how we're going to fix it? Nobody has to answer that. But if people can predict what you're going to do, they get really comfortable with sharing information with you, as well as potentially leaving some of their cash with you because they know that you're a fiduciary. And I like that word. I know it's a financial industry word, but you're going to be a great fiduciary, a great steward of the money that you've been trusted with. And so my first deal, we talk about the glamorous piece of doing development, but my first deal was a 23 unit property that they were doing prostitution and drugs out of. Right. And I tried to buy that deal by myself. And I went to 10 banks and they all told me no. They told me I was too ambitious and told me I didn't actually have a deal and that I need to go to find somebody who has experience to do it. The problem was I didn't know anybody that did it. I've been in corporate America for a while, built this big business, got all this technical training, and none of that mattered. The banks did not care. They didn't care about a P&L. They didn't care about an MBA, engineering. They didn't care about any of that. They wanted to know if I executed this business plan before, and basically, could I write a check if it fell apart so that they could make sure they got their money back. And so I had to go fix and flip. And I'm sitting on the stoop at one of my houses. It was a $90,000 rehab. I don't know what I was thinking, built in 1920. And a guy pulls up in a white Dodge Ram. He hops out. He walks up to the yard. He's like, "Hey, bud, I'm getting ready to do a house down the street. I'd love to walk through and just check out your finishes so that we can make sure that you're comparable to what we planned on doing." And so he's like walking in. He's like, "Ooh, you took that wall out. Granite looks amazing." We go upstairs. He looks through the bathroom. "Man, great selection on the tile." He's like, "All right, man, thanks. I really appreciate this." And he's getting ready to walk out. He stops in the door. He looks back. He says, "Hey, do you know anything about that building behind the Chimbo Mart?" I said, "The 23 unit apartment building?" "Yeah. I tried to buy that 4 or 5 months ago, but the bank told me I needed somebody with experience." He said, "Yeah, I'm probably going to make an offer on that today." I was like, "Oh, you're the person I've been looking for. You have to have experience if you're going to go make an offer on the property, right?" He's like, "Yeah, we own a few buildings." I was like, "Well, look, don't leave me out. Like, this is what I've been looking for. You're the person I've been looking for, and I want to do this deal. I really like it." He said, "Well, what are you going to bring to the table?" And I just kind of looked at him and smiled. And I said, "Don't worry about all that. Just like bring me in the deal. Like we'll take care of it. We'll figure that out. But just bring me in the deal." And so he just kind of looked at me confused, shrugged his shoulders, and walked off and down the steps, through the grass, hopped in his truck, and he pulled off. And I'm sitting here thinking, it's finally happened. It's going to work. Josh, I got the guy, right?
Yeah.
Did he bring me in the deal, or did he just go do it?
Yeah, I'm going to guess he did it on his own, right?
Of course he's going to go do it on his own. What did I bring to the table? I couldn't even articulate what my skill set was, right?
Right.
I just asked him to bring me in. And so he went and made the offer. It got rejected. And so he went and talked to a guy that I used to lend money to when I was in corporate America. And the guy said, "Oh, this is a deal Jerome and I talked about 4 or 5 months ago. I'm only comfortable doing this if he does the deal." Mm-hmm. And so it's the three of us. And then we bring a property manager in, and then the broker invests his commission. And so we go buy this deal. And I'm like, man, had I not done that stuff a few years ago, there's no way I'd be sitting here right now. And so this goes to being a good person and not doing things with the expectation to get something, but doing them because you think they're the right thing to do. And that was reciprocated by the person who stuck up for me and actually created a space for me at the table. Nice. So we go through that, and then we're sitting at the table, we're going through the deal. And I still remember this one conversation that it still makes my skin crawl today. We're going through and we realize that we have bed bugs at the property. And one of the folks says, "Well, if they move out, we don't care because we don't want those people there anyway." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean? Like, they're paying rent to live here. What do you mean you don't want those people here?" Mm-hmm. And the room got dead silent. And he's like, "Well, I didn't mean it like that. What I'm saying is we want them to move out so that we can renovate the units." But there I realized that there was a disconnect, right? Like we didn't think about the residents as people, and they would probably use the word tenant instead of residents. I use residents, right? But we didn't think about the residents as a people, as a collective group. Only some of us did. And so what I've struggled with most in this space is the cognitive dissonance between owners and the people who actually call the place that the owners own home. Mm-hmm. I believe that you've got to see the humanity in this space. And as an ownership group, we want to treat people like the humans that they are. Right. And so we started going through that. And what I've learned is that if you and your partners have the same values, have the same morals, then it makes it really easy to make decisions. The moment that you don't see the world through the same lens, you get a bunch of conflict, you get a bunch of sandpaper friction and rubbing. And that is what causes partnerships to degrade, because there's always going to be something that happens. And Josh, you know this, you've run enough properties. Right. There's always going to be stuff that happens. It's up to the partnership to navigate the conflict. And it's no different than any other relationship. It's probably very similar to marriage, if you want to be honest, right? You're co-signing loans, you're tying your financial future together, you're committed for at least 3 to 5 years. That's a joke at marriage anyway. And so, right. You go through
the honeymoon period wears off.
Yeah, the honeymoon period wears off, and it wears off quicker, especially if you have money issues. And again, drawing a marriage parallelism, like most marriages fail because there's some issues with the money. Right. So it's always my guidance, my encouragement to people to make sure that you know who your partners are, not when everything's good and hunky dory, but when things hit the fan. Right? Are they going to take responsibility, some ownership, and go work on it? Or are they the victim and everybody else is at fault and they're perfect? And I can tell you, if you're dealing with somebody who's perfect all the time, you're still going to be perfect when you're a partner. Yeah. You're the person messing it up.
Are you ready to automate and explode your real estate investing? We're searching for extremely motivated individuals who are sick and tired of wasting time and want to finally see real results from their real estate investing business. We're searching for investors looking to get to the next level and become a bigger, better version of themselves while being a more successful real estate investing entrepreneur. Apply for mentoring and coaching at joshcantwellcoaching.com/podcast. That's joshcantwellcoaching.com/podcast. So, Jerome, I'm curious. So, to some degree, we're talking about whatever you want to call it, but the law of attraction, meaning what we project to the world, we're going to probably get something similar back in return. The people that we hang out with are probably, we're going to be like them. You hear this cliche of, you're the average of the 5 people that you hang out with most. There's all these different cliches out in the world, but if we want to level up our game, if we want to be a better partner, how do we become a better partner? Like, what exercise or what questions, what are boxes do we have to check to say, like, I know who I am, I know what my values are, I know what I stand for? Because if you plant your flag in the ground and you say, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, this is what I'm trying to do, you're probably going to attract people like that. But a lot of people have never spent the time to methodically think through who they are. Who am I as a person? And then in order to attract people like that, so you can be a good partner and attract good partners. So is there some sort of checklist, or is there some sort of questions that we should be asking ourselves so that we can be very clear about who am I? Like everybody has on their website in the corner, like the About Us section, the upper right-hand corner in the navigation. Like, how do we know how to write the About Us section of who we are so we can attract those type of same people and make good partnerships and do bigger deals?
Ooh, you're talking my language now, brother.
All right, good. I asked the right question.
Yeah, I always go around wearing this shirt, say I took the red pill. And I believe that the change happens within and then radiates out. I think the vast majority of the world wants the world to change without anything in them changing. Sure. And it's just not going to happen. And so I went through a really low point in my life back in 2010, and I started questioning everything. And the thing that I'm most grateful for about that period is I realized that I was doing a bunch of rituals and practices, and I didn't really understand why, Josh. I was programmed as a kid to do X, Y, and Z, and I just kept doing them out of habit. And so the first thing I think we need to do is press the pause button and ask, when did I define myself? Right? Is it when I was 8 or 10 or 12, or as a teenager or in high school? And, if I'm 35 years old or 45 years old, have I redefined what my life should be and who I should be because of it? Because a lot of times, most people are still trying to live out whatever that thing is that they decided when they were 8.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they're dissatisfied, frustrated, and uncomfortable because what their vision of the world was at 8 is very different for what it is today, but they're disconnected from the two because they won't reconcile. If you haven't redefined what your life is going to be and decided for yourself what you believe and what you don't believe and really tested it to make sure that it is true. For instance, if I sneeze right now, Josh, I suspect you're probably going to say, bless you. Mm-hmm. But why? What is that based on? Right. And, my heart didn't stop. That's what I was told that you're supposed to say, bless you. My heart didn't stop. So what does it really mean? And am I a rude person if I don't say bless you? Right. Is all these things, these practices. So one, ask, what do I believe? And redefine the things that you believe and then operate in that true essence. I think the next thing, I read this book called The Four Agreements. And the one that was most profound for me was being impeccable with your word. The second one was don't take anything personal. When I adopted those two things, I was able to live in gratitude completely and fully. And that right there just changed the way that I saw the world. No longer was I worried about who was trying to take what from me. It was all about what I can give and being around people who see the world in the same way, where they're generous and open to sharing and interested in making sure that the relationships are mutually beneficial. And when you have mutually beneficial relationships, you don't have an empty cup. What I found with most Apex performers, and I would put you in that bucket, right, is they only have people coming to them to take from them, right? Hey, Josh, I got this problem. What do you think I should do? Mm-hmm. Hey, Josh, I need money. What do you think and this is what's happening when you're trying to raise money, right? You're going to somebody who has an abundance of the thing saying, hey, I need this. And you're probably asking them for it instead of offering them an opportunity to participate in something that's going to benefit them, right? And so when you make that shift and you know that you don't have scarcity, you live in a place of abundance and everything is available, then you can change the whole game. The whole game changes, man.
Love it, Jerome. That's fantastic. So when did this become your personal philosophy? Like what happened in your life? Maybe it was leaving the corporate world and becoming an entrepreneur. Maybe you were always, maybe this was what you grew up with when you were 8. I still think sometimes in my own life, if I peeled back the onion, was real honest, I was an athlete in high school. I was popular. But my best friend, one of my best friends, was like nominated as like the best athlete in school. He was an all-state football player. He was the best looking guy in the school. And I always felt like I was playing second fiddle to that dude. And he's still a close friend of mine. So sometimes I still feel, and I'm just being honest here with myself and with our whole audience, Jerome, with you, like I still feel like I'm trying to prove when I do big real estate deals or when I raise a lot of capital, it makes me feel worthy. Yeah. And this is something that my buddy, he probably doesn't even know that I still think of him in high school 30 years ago, or the girls that liked him instead of me. And so here I am still trying to prove to my 16-year-old self, right? Now I'm 44, 28 years later, and I'm still like, some of me, not all of me, like I've grown up, I've matured, right? I'm trying to have a bigger impact. I made a promise to my father when he was sick that I would always take care of him and never let him struggle. So now that he's passed, I've got that same promise to my mother. So I have different reasons now, but this little piece of me still is trying to prove to high school Josh. So I get it. Like I know exactly what you're saying, that if you don't reconcile with yourself who you are today, the big piece of you can be trying to prove a point that doesn't even matter to anybody from 20 or 30 years ago, right?
Yeah, you got to be able to control the talk that's in your mind. And I think one of the ways that you'll know if you're in trouble is if you are scared to sit in silence. There are people who walk in the house, as soon as they walk in the house, they turn the TV on, the radio on. They say, I got to have something going. But if you can sit in a dark room and be totally okay with that, just you and yourself, no phone, no nothing, that's when you know that you've actually found the peace. Because that's what we're all seeking. We're seeking some form of peace. Some people think they're going to find the peace in the noise, but I can tell you that the peace really exists in the silence and the darkness. And that's why when you're suffering and going through the pain, you have these epiphanies, you have these realizations, because you can actually hear the voice and you can get the clarity. But we try to numb it, man. We use sugar, we use drugs, we use all these other things,
social media,
all of these things to try to get us away from the reality of our situation. But it's not until you accept that reality that you can actually make a change, right? As long as you don't have a problem, you don't have to do anything about it, or somebody else has to do something about it, not you. But when you take personal inventory and take responsibility for it, life-changing experience.
Yeah, fantastic stuff, Jerome. This is just reminding me as I get done with this interview with you, I'm going to go back. I've got a Google Slides, like PowerPoint, that I look at almost every morning. And one of the slides is what I call an I am slide. And I've got about 15 to 17 statements that says like, I am, right? So it's a declaration of who Josh Cantwell is. Regardless of what other people think about me, now I'm mature enough to know this is who I believe I am. And so it's things like, I am a servant son of God. I am a conservative Christian entrepreneur. I am a proud father. I'm a loving husband. I am. Like, I am great at raising capital, right? I am 7% body fat, 210 pounds with a six pack. I'm not that, but I want to be, right? So, there's all these I am, so that when I doubt myself, when something goes wrong in business, I have an argument with my wife, something's going on with one of my children, I can always come back to say like, well, Josh, this is who you are, and remember who you are, and operate from those principles. Don't wing it. Don't have a knee-jerk reaction based on emotion. This is who you are. So if this is who you are, how do you solve that problem inside of that silo of Josh Cantwell? Who's Josh Cantwell? And more times than not, the answer reveals itself. And I don't say I come up with the answer. What I say is the world reveals itself to me, the answer. I didn't have the answer, but all of a sudden it just comes out of thin air almost, right? And part of it, Jerome, is because there's not that white noise like you talked about. There's not the TV, the social media, the drugs, the sugar, the constant movement. I got a busy life, but I take time to slow down. One of my favorite things in the world, Jerome, actually lately has been I coach club volleyball. We're busy with our syndications and our investments, but at night, kids go to bed. I sit in the kitchen with my wife, TV's off, social media's off, phones are away, and I do the dishes. And she sits at the island and we talk about life, about what's going on with her day, what's going on with my day. And I know she's also looking back at the 5 love languages, the book by Gary Chapman, I believe it is. Her love language is service.
Yeah.
So I'm able to love on her by doing the dishes, the pots and pans, cleaning up the kitchen. She's an amazing Italian cook, so I love to eat the food she makes. So again, this is one of those things, being a loving husband, knowing what her love language is, giving back to her. So I think I'm getting a lot of these things right that you're talking about. So what should people be asking themselves to get more in line with who they really are, and just being comfortable, even if they're an oddball, even if who they determine they are is totally different than the rest of the world, and what Instagram projects, and who they should be on LinkedIn, or what they should be and when they're in the field. How do people really get comfortable to say, this is who I am, I'm just going to be this? Is it telling the world, like, I don't really give a shit if you like me or not, this is who I am? Like, help me understand how we bring it together so people can actually live harmoniously with who they really are, and then just project that to the world, whether the world likes it or not.
There's so much here. I don't want to leave the point that you just told about the dishes and the wife, right? And so your love language is quality time, right?
Mm-hmm. Quality time, physical touch, words of affirmation.
Yep.
You bet.
Yeah. And so you're standing there and you guys are giving the mutual benefit, and it's deepening the connection. And so you guys are in a great spot. And if something's off, that's the place, that's a safe place for you to reconnect and get it back going. And if somebody isn't participating in one of those two things, you have permission to call them on it, because it's our ritual, it's our practice, it's what deepens our relationship. And I mean, that's just amazing for anybody out there who's listening. I don't want you to skip over that. Find the way that you both can be served in the same space, and watch how much closer your relationship gets. And that closeness creates that oneness, which pushes you to that next level. And so you ask the questions that people should be asking. And I think they should be asking, hey, who do I really want to be? Because this is when I made the drop from corporate America. For 2 years in a row, after building a $20 million division for Fortune 550, I had to lay people off. And I realized that while I was making day-to-day operational decisions and I had responsibility for the P&L, I wasn't actually the ultimate decision maker for what happened to my group. And because of that, I realized that people were dictating to me what I was going to do, and I didn't have a say whether or not it was in alignment with my morals and values. Get crystal clear on your morals and values. And that was the other thing you were talking about with your affirmations. Your affirmations are setting the standard for your life. We get our standards. We don't get the things that we wish for, that we desire. We get the things that we decide. These are our standards. And that's why I am is so important with the rest of the words that go with it. You know, mine says I am the embodiment of health, wealth, and love, right? And I keep mine super simple because I can remember that and recite it. And so what are your morals and values? Are you in alignment with them? If you're not, are your morals and values actually your morals and values, or do they just sound nice? If they actually are, what are you going to do to change your life to make sure that you can move in alignment with your morals and values? You know, there's some people who practice Christianity, but don't actually live it out in practice, right? And so you leading with, hey, I'm a Christian. When somebody introduces themselves that way, I sit back and watch and say, okay, I know that Christianity is based in love. Do you act out of love? Is that your general demeanor? And if it's not, if you're always worried about being a victim or somebody taking advantage of you, I know that that's not actually what you believe, right? You're just saying that because it sounds nice. And so then I move to the next place, you know, know, like, and trust. I can't predict what you're going to do because you aren't living out your stated morals and values. So I'm going to keep a distance from you because I know there's a disconnect. For the people who are living out their morals and values, I believe that you can show up anywhere and be yourself and not worry about anything, because you will draw the people to you who are like you, and the people who aren't like you will run away, and you want them to run away so that you can live in this, what I call a bubble, right? You're safe in this bubble with people who see the world in the same way. And they're all going to be predictable because they have the same morals and values.
Yeah. My newest and most powerful real estate investing book, The Flip System, is now available. And for a limited time, you can grab your free copy at getflipsystem.com/podcast. Using the same proven principles, secrets, and investing strategies I'm sharing in this book, I've been able to personally close over 750 highly profitable real estate deals over the last 15 years, make over 400 private lender loans, raise over $30 million of private money, and acquire over 2,000 units of apartments. Get my newest book now for free for a limited time at getflipsystem.com/podcast. That's getflipsystem.com/podcast. So being a better partner, to kind of bring this all kind of full circle, and this kind of last question, Jerome, is any kind of final piece of advice that you would give to your younger former self or to our audience about being a better partner? But it really starts with like identifying, really defining who we are. And then, like you've talked about so many times, being predictable in that what you do, the outcome that you have, is in line with what you said you would do. And the more often you do that, and you show up when you're supposed to show up, you close when you're supposed to close, you call someone when you're supposed to call them, you're on time, you project things to the world, and then you live there and you do it, that makes you a better partner, right? Because what people don't like is non-transparency, unpredictability, right? We were given like one of these senses that we have to have, I believe, not only to be a great person, but to be a good business owner, which is you have to be somebody who people can count on. One of the basic needs of humans is security. And because God is creative and he's wild, he also gives us one of the other basic needs, which Tony Robbins talks about a lot, which is the need for unsecurity or new, fresh changes, things that are fun. But generally, especially for women and especially in business, knowing and predicting securities, pro formas, how's this deal going to pencil out? Is it going to work that way? And when it doesn't, because a lot of deals don't pencil out or perform exactly as they're penciled, are you going to be transparent with the details and how you're going to fix that? So help me understand what kind of final pieces of advice you would give for us to be more predictable, provide more security, and be a better partner.
Yeah, I will tell you that if you're more accountable to yourself than you are to anybody else, then your life is going to be extraordinary, right? And that's because you always know if you were willing to do whatever it took in order to deliver the result that you told yourself that you wanted to achieve, right? And people miss all of that. Like, Josh, if you step on the back of my shoe while we're walking down the hallway, because you're talking about your high school buddy. In high school, we used to step on the back of people's shoes, make them trip and stumble, right? But you know whether that happened on purpose or not, right? You intended to do that or you didn't. I can give you the benefit of the doubt because I don't know. You might have been looking at the girl that was going the other way. You might have been looking at a locker. There's so many other things that could have been going on and you did it by accident. My assumption today is that people are doing things by accident. They're not intentionally trying to hurt me or to harm me. But you know, right? And so anytime you give a half-hearted effort at something that you said you want to do and it doesn't work out, you completely know that you didn't do everything that you could in order to do it. One of the other of the 4 agreements is always do your best. And so in that space, you being more accountable to yourself than anybody else, instead of saying, oh, well, hey, Jerome's watching, so I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's
childish behavior, right? That's like my 9-year-old son, Dominic, says, I'm going to brush my teeth because dad's watching, versus when Dominic says, yeah, dad, I brushed my teeth, and I know he's lying, right? But we do that as adults, right? Some people never grow out of that behavior.
Right. And so, but now when you are responsible for your life, right? Total extreme ownership, as Jocko talks about, that's when you move to that next place and you will be amazed at how many people want to be around you, but you'll also be amazed at how many people run away. So when you live a life at that level, they know that you're going to expect the same from them. And the people who aren't accountable are going to run away. And in business, there is not a greater blessing than having the people who aren't going to do what they say run away from you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
You can't predict. You can't predict them. You can't do anything with it.
That's beautiful stuff. Jerome, listen, fantastic interview, man. I was excited for this one, excited to talk more about this, the internal business owner, the internal entrepreneur, the internal partnership, then like the next deal, the next syndication. This is exactly what I was hoping to get for me personally and for our audience. So if our audience wants to get more information about you, engage with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, the best place for the audience to go is jeromemyers.co. It's MYERS. Some people like that extra E, it's just straight MYERS. And you can find out about all the stuff we have going on, man. We're pretty busy, super excited to meet new folks.
Fantastic, Jerome. Listen, thanks so much for joining us today on Accelerated Investor.
Thanks, Josh.
So, hey, listen, I hope you really enjoyed that interview with Jerome. I was so excited to interview him and hear more about his personal philosophies. If you enjoyed the interview, please go right now and leave us a 5-star rating and review in iTunes and YouTube. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss another episode of Accelerated Real Estate Investor. Hey, Josh here, and do you want to win a free Accelerated Investor t-shirt? All you have to do is give Accelerated Investor, our podcast, Accelerated Investor, a rating and a review on iTunes, okay? Do that now. Then send us a screenshot on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter What we're going to do then is every week we're going to pick our favorite rating and review, and we're going to send that person a free t-shirt and maybe, again, some other cool, fun stuff as well from Accelerated Investors. So, again, don't forget to take a screenshot. Leave a rating, review, take a screenshot, send it to us so we know exactly who you are. And then once a week, every week on the podcast, we will announce a new winner. Don't forget to take a screenshot and send it to us so we know exactly who you are. We'll announce a new winner every week.
You were just listening to the Accelerated Real Estate Investor Podcast with Josh Cantwell. If you enjoyed this episode and learned something new, help us build our community by leaving a review and 5-star rating on our iTunes podcast channel. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. To see passive investing opportunities, visit freelandventures.com/passive. To start your journey toward the lifestyle you've always dreamed of with multifamily apartments, apply for one-on-one coaching with Josh at joshcantwellcoaching.com.